Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz attends a state banquet in Sri Lanka held in his honor by the Sri Lankan president. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that cooperation between the Maldives and Sri Lanka in the field of youth and sports development will be further strengthened under a newly signed agreement between the two governments. The President of Sri Lanka states that Maldives is an important partner in Sri Lanka's economy.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz attends a state banquet in Sri Lanka held in his honor by Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayaka.
The event, hosted by President Dissanayaka, formed part of President Muiz's first state visit to the country since taking office. He was accompanied by First Lady Sajida Mohammed and a Maldivian delegation. During the banquet, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz expressed appreciation for what he described as a warm welcome and generous hospitality extended by the Sri Lankan government and its people. He highlighted the long-standing ties between the Maldives and Sri Lanka, describing the island nation as a close and trusted neighbor. He noted that relations between the two countries have been shaped over decades through cooperation in areas such as education and healthcare, as well as strong people-to-people connections. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz said that visit symbolized the enduring bond between the two nations and acknowledged Sri Lanka's support to the Maldives' development. He also stressed the importance of strengthening cooperations in key sectors, including digital transformation, sustainable tourism, renewable energy, education, and ocean conservation. Addressing shared global challenges, the President pointed to climate change as a particular concern for both countries, calling for continued collaboration, advocacy, and innovation. He added that the relationship between the two nations is ultimately grounded in the close ties between their people, which he said gives true meaning to formal diplomatic relations. The President expressed confidence that bilateral ties would continue to deepen in the coming years. Senior officials and cabinet ministers from both countries were also present at the banquet. President Muiz and the First Lady are currently on a state visit to Sri Lanka from the 3rd to 6th May 2026.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that through cooperation between Maldives and Sri Lanka, the economic benefits gained from the Indian Ocean can be delivered to citizens in the most effective way.
He made these remarks while speaking at a state banquet hosted by the Sri Lankan government. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz said that the Indian Ocean is not merely a boundary, but an important bridge that connects the history and culture of the two nations and supports economic growth.
For centuries, the waves between our shores have carried more than trade and travelers. They have carried trust. They have carried love. They have carried the rhythm of two peoples who have learned to live, not in competition, but in companionship.
He further emphasized that maintaining cooperation between the two countries is essential to ensure that the Indian Ocean remains a zone of security, stability, and opportunity for all, and that this would allow the economic benefits of the ocean to be shared with citizens in the best possible way. The President also noted that the Maldives and Sri Lanka are close neighbors, like one family. He said this relationship is built not just on temporary benefits, but on long-standing mutual respect developed over time. He added that Sri Lanka has consistently supported the Maldives whenever assistance was needed, and that the Maldivian people are deeply grateful for this help, which has contributed to the country's development. The President highlighted that climate change is the greatest challenge facing island nations like the Maldives. He said both the Maldives and Sri Lanka have developed resilience in facing natural and human-induced disasters. Speaking about future cooperation, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz said both countries are actively working together in areas such as digital transformation, sustainable tourism, and renewable energy development.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz states that cooperation between the Maldives and Sri Lanka in the field of youth and sports development will be further strengthened under a newly signed agreement between the two governments.
Speaking during his ongoing official visit to Sri Lanka, the president highlighted the agreement on sports as one of several key understandings reached between the two countries. He emphasized that Sri Lanka has consistently provided strong support for the development of Maldivian youth and sports. He also noted that the Maldives has always valued the continued assistance and partnership offered by Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka plays an important role in the development of youth and sports in the Maldives. In particular, the Sri Lankan government has provided significant support to Maldivian athletes and sports institutions by facilitating training programs and organizing training camps across various sports, including football, cricket, tennis, athletics, and others. Additionally, arrangements are made to ensure that Maldivian teams traveling to Sri Lanka for international competitions receive the necessary services and support with ease. The president added that his visit would further strengthen collaboration, enabling the Maldives to achieve its goal in youth and sports development with greater support from Sri Lanka.
First Lady Sajida Mohammed visits both a leading children's hospital and a social enterprise market in Colombo as part of the ongoing state visit to Sri Lanka by President Dr. Mohamed Muiz and a high-level Maldivian delegation.
Her engagements included a visit to the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children, where she was welcomed by senior officials and attended a presentation outlining the hospital's services. She toured several facilities, including diagnostic units, the plastic surgery ward, and children's ward, meeting staff involved in patient care. During the visit, the First Lady signed the hospital's guest book and praised the dedication and compassion of its staff in ensuring the health and well-being of children. The hospital is the largest in Sri Lanka, providing free healthcare service to children. In a separate engagement, the First Lady visited the Good Market as part of her official program. The visit included a tour of an exhibition at the 80 Club of Colombo, showcasing products created by women entrepreneurs. Exhibits range from sustainably produced food and health-related goods to responsibly made clothing and lifestyle products, alongside items from social enterprises supporting community development. The First Lady met with entrepreneurs and discussed ways to expand businesses, promote sustainable practices, and strengthen collaboration across sectors. She also emphasized the importance of empowering women-led enterprises and building connections that support inclusive economic growth. The visit highlighted the close social and cultural ties between the Maldives and Sri Lanka and the role of such engagements in further strengthening relations between the two countries.
Anura Kumara Dissanayake, the president of Sri Lanka, states that Maldives is an important partner in Sri Lanka's economy. He made these remarks while speaking at a joint press conference held during his ongoing official visit to the Maldives at the invitation of the Maldivian president.
In his address, President Dissanayake highlighted the long-standing ties between the two countries. He noted that while formal diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and the Maldives mark 60 years, the relationship itself dates back much further. He emphasized that cultural and linguistic connections have long linked the two nations, forming a strong foundation for achieving shared aspirations. President Dissanayake further stated that the Maldives is currently the third largest export destination for Sri Lanka, underlining the importance of strengthening trade relations between the two countries. He added that this reflects the deep-rooted historical ties between their people. During his speech, he also expressed gratitude for the assistance provided by the Maldivian government and people following recent flooding in Sri Lanka. He described this as a clear example of the close and friendly relations between the two nations and thanked the President of the Maldives, Dr. Mohamed Muiz, for the support. The Sri Lankan president also referred to discussions held between the two sides, noting that agreements to work more closely together on international platforms. He reaffirmed Sri Lanka's commitment to supporting the Maldives in addressing climate change challenges. 7 areas of cooperation were formalized through agreements between the two countries. With these developments, President Dissanayake reiterated that the Maldives remains a key economic partner for Sri Lanka in the region and that efforts will continue to further strengthen this relationship. He also highlighted potential areas for further collaboration, particularly in boat building, given that both nations are island states. Additionally, He stressed the importance of enhancing tourism cooperation and improving travel connectivity to facilitate easier movement for tourists visiting both countries. Noting that both countries share the Indian Ocean region, President Dissanayake pointed out that they face similar challenges. He emphasized the need for joint efforts to ensure regional security and to combat illegal activities at sea. As part of ongoing efforts to strengthen ties, he also mentioned progress in allocating land for the establishment of high commissions in both countries, noting that final stages of this process are currently underway.
The Human Rights Commission of the Maldives, or HRCM, states that its annual report, published each year, is a document compiled to assess how well the Commission is fulfilling its responsibilities in line with laws, regulations, and international conventions, and that it is not an investigative report. The Human Rights Commission of the Maldives released its annual report for the past year on the 30th of last month. HRCM noted that under the National Preventative Mechanism established within the Commission, one of its four main objectives, and the most important, is to visit places where individuals, including children, are deprived of their liberty under state custody, and to assess the conditions of those facilities. This includes observing how detainees are treated, identifying any acts of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, or any risks that such acts may occur. It also involves ensuring that law enforcement authorities and other officials treat detainees in accordance with laws, regulations, and international standards. Speaking to PSM News, the Director General of the National Preventative Mechanism, Amira Naim, said that the Commission's work in inspecting detention facilities and compiling reports is not investigative in nature. The Commission is empowered to gather information during visits to places such as detention centers and prisons through interviews and observations, and to prepare reports based on these findings. It also submits recommendations to relevant authorities to improve the services provided to detainees and efforts aimed at reintegrating them into society. Additionally, the Commission holds meetings based on evidence and advice and works collaboratively with the government, parliament, and all relevant stakeholders to address necessary reforms. Raising public awareness is also a key responsibility of the Commission. Land reclamation for the development of an airport in Milandu, Shaviani Atoll, has been completed. The initiative has been assigned to the Maldives Airports Company Limited, or MACL, with dredging works commencing on the 3rd of April. In a post on social media, President Dr. Mohamed Muiz stated that reclamation for the project was completed on the 4th of May, with 21 hectares reclaimed in 31 days. He added that trees had been cleared from 4.9 hectares of land, bringing the total project area to 25.9 hectares. The project involved the placement of 1,134,534 cubic meters of sand. Dredging was carried out using Boskalis and Queen of the Netherlands dredger, which has a capacity of 35,000 cubic meters. The development aligns with President Muiz's pledge to establish an airport in Milandu, an island with a population of over 2,700. He has assured that the project will be completed within his current term. MACL was assigned the land reclamation for both the airport and harbor development projects in October 2025, with practical works scheduled for completion within 8 months from the start date. The government has stated that the project was entrusted to MACL to ensure the most efficient use of land in both the short and long term. The harbor area is also being temporarily relocated to facilitate airport construction, with provisions for this included in the overall design of the development. The Universal Periodic Review, or UPR, conducted by the UPR Working Group, commences its 52nd session. This session is being held at the United Nations office in Geneva at the Palais des Nations. The session will continue over a period of 2 weeks, concluding on the 15th of this month. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that during this period, the UPR Working Group, established under the UN Human Rights Council, will assess the human rights situations in 14 countries. These countries include Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, Mozambique, Namibia, Niger, Palau, Paraguay, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Singapore, Solomon Islands, and Somalia. A Maldivian delegation is participating in this session, where they will deliver recommendations to the countries under review in line with the key policies of the government of the Maldives. The UPR Working Group holds 3 sessions each year. The ongoing 52nd session is part of the 4th UPR review cycle, which runs from 2022 to 2027. The UPR is a mechanism established to review the efforts of UN member states in protecting and promoting human rights, as well as to assess progress made. It also provides an opportunity for other member states to propose constructive recommendations aimed at strengthening the implementation of human rights in the countries under review. The Maldivian delegation attending this session is led by Dr. Salma Rashid, the permanent representative of the Maldives to the United Nations office in Geneva. The delegation also includes Councillor Adam Hamid, Councillor Aminat Shifaya Ibrahim, Second Secretary Aishat Rayahin, and Attaché Mohammad Raid Said. Oil prices ease after U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States would begin an effort to free up ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. However, the lack of a U.S.-Iran peace deal kept prices above $100.
Brent crude futures fell 64 cents or 0.59% to $107.53 a barrel after settling down at $2.23. U.S. West Texas Intermediate was at $101.10 a barrel, down 84 cents or 0.82%, following a $3.13 loss. Trump wrote in a post on his Truth Social site, quote, "For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business," unquote. Oil prices remained above $100 a barrel with no peace deal in sight and traffic in the Strait of Hormuz still limited. Negotiations between the U.S. and Iran continued over the weekend, with the countries assessing responses from each other. ANZ analysts said in a note, quote, "Peace talks have been stalled as both sides refuse to move on their respective red lines," unquote. Trump has made a nuclear deal with Tehran a priority, while Iran has proposed to set aside nuclear issues until after the war ends and the foes agree to lift opposing blockades on Gulf shipping. On Sunday, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and their allies, or OPEC Plus, said they will raise oil output targets by 188,000 barrels per day in June for 7 members, the third consecutive monthly rise. The increase is the same as that agreed for May, minus the share of the United Arab Emirates, which left OPEC on May 1st. However, the higher volume will remain largely on paper as long as the Iran war continues to disrupt Gulf oil supplies through the Strait of Hormuz.
Australia and Japan beef up their cooperation around critical minerals amid a state visit by Japan's Prime Minister, with the countries providing $1.20 billion in support for the sector and flagging more to come.
Both nations will focus on strategic projects to address the most urgent supply chain vulnerabilities in mining, refining, and manufacturing in the two countries, the Australian government said in a statement. Australia provides approximately one-third of Japan's energy supply and is the country's largest market for liquefied natural gas. Both nations have been attempting to shore up their energy supply as tensions in the Middle East strangle trade. Japan has provided approximately $267 million in investments and grants and plans to provide further investments and grants as projects develop, while Australia plans to provide up to $937 million, the statement said. Last month, Japan signed contracts launching a $7 billion deal to supply Australia with warships in Tokyo's most significant military sale since ending a ban on such exports in 2014.
China retains the Thomas Cup in Horsens, Denmark, with a 3-1 win over first-time finalists France.
World number 1 Shi Yuqi got the defending champions off to a winning start, edging European champion Christo Popov 21-16, 16-21, 21-17. 21-year-old Alex Lanier then drew the challengers level, dispatching former All-England champion Li Shifeng 21-13, 21-10. Toma Popov suffered the same fate as his younger brother, however losing another close contest 22-20, 20-22, 21-19 to Wang Hongyang. After almost 4.5 hours of hard-fought badminton, He Jiting and Ren Zhanyu secured China's 12th title in doubles play with a convincing 21-13, 21-16 win over Eloy Adam and Leo Rossi.
Chinese robotics startup Linkerbot, the global market leader in highly dexterous robotic hands for humanoids, will seek a $6 billion valuation in its next financing round, the company said.
Beijing-based Linkerbot currently holds over 80% of the global market share in high degree of freedom DOF robotic hands and plans to scale production soon to 10,000 units a month, CEO Alex Chu told Reuters in an interview. Investor interest in China's humanoid robotics industry has surged this year after market leaders demonstrated their products' staggering technical advances during a widely watched TV performance. Unlike competing humanoid makers, Linkerbot specializes in high-value human craftsmanship. Cho said the goal is to replicate the entire library of the human dexterous skills within their hardware. He said the firm's Linker SkillNet platform is the world's largest real-world dexterous manipulation dataset. This multimodal data collection system converts human skills into standardized, reusable capabilities for robotic hands, with over 500 skills so far. Linkerbot's hands can already rapidly turn screws, thread a needle, and engage in high-precision manufacturing. The company supplies some of China's leading humanoid robot makers as well as some foreign industrial giants. Its basic 06 lightweight model can carry a 50-kilogram load despite weighing only 370 grams. Cho said this is a key advantage for industrial applications where miniaturization and strength are required. The company manufactures key components in-house and uses specialized self-lubricating and corrosion-resistant polymers. Linkerbot's hands are also used by research institutes and leading global universities. A major obstacle to the widespread factory use of humanoids is their cost, but Linkerbot says its hands are more easily deployed than humanoids. Cho said Chinese factory owners have realized that for most factory work, 2 arms and a pair of dexterous hands are enough. He said many customers simply mount hands onto existing robotic arms rather than buy a full humanoid.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.